The story of Sean Combs, or P. Diddy, Diddy, or Puff Daddy, the man who continuously rebranded himself, is fundamentally the story of American power, influence, and the terrifying privilege of immense wealth. For 3 decades, Combs didn't just sell music, he sold an aspirational dream. He created an empire rooted in the high-gloss aesthetic of hip-hop royalty, a visual and sonic fantasy called bad boy entertainment. His public persona was meticulously constructed: the consummate entrepreneur, the trendsetter, the charming billionaire celebrating success on yachts and in exclusive clubs. He was a symbol of black excellence, a man who transformed raw musical talent into a multi-billion-dollar brand encompassing fashion, spirits, media, and technology. This facade of success and boundless charisma was the protective shield behind which a darker, deeply disturbing reality was systematically hidden. Combs was a master of narrative control. Any potential turbulence, any whisper of scandal or violence was expertly managed, either through aggressive legal action, immense financial settlements, or simply by being drowned out by the noise of his next colossal success. The public consumed the brand, and they dismissed the rumors. The narrative was simple. This was just the cost of being the king of hip-hop, part of the gritty reality that made his music authentic. However, the first significant crack in this pristine image appeared sharply at the turn of the millennium. December 27, 1999, was the date that first seriously linked Sean Combs to violence and legal jeopardy. On that night, Combs, along with then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez and rapper Shine, was involved in a highly publicized shooting incident at the Club New York in Manhattan. 3 people were injured. Combs faced serious charges, including gun possession and bribery, but was ultimately acquitted after a dramatic trial. The narrative sold to the public was one of victimization and self-defense. But for those paying close attention, this event served as a crucial early warning sign. It demonstrated that the line between Combs's glamorous public life and a violent, unstable private life was dangerously thin. More importantly, it showed the sheer power of his resources to survive seemingly catastrophic legal challenges. Following the 1999 acquittal, the power structure around Combs only solidified. He became more untouchable, leveraging his perceived innocence into greater cultural dominance. The public, focused on his reality show, Making the Band, and his successful clothing lines, conveniently forgot the violence. This period of cultural ascendancy allowed the system of control and alleged abuse that would define his downfall to take deeper root, growing increasingly complex and insulated from outside scrutiny. The empire had learned a valuable lesson. If the narrative is loud enough, the truth can be silenced with money and celebrity. Throughout the 2000s and 2010s, whispers persisted within the music industry. Stories of explosive temper, extreme demands, and coercive behavior. But these remained largely anecdotal and confined to anonymous blogs or industry insiders who feared professional annihilation. Diddy's network was vast and protective. To challenge him meant risking your career, your reputation, and possibly your safety. The public saw the dazzling parties and the charitable contributions. They didn't see the non-disclosure agreements, the swift legal actions, and the chilling silence of those who had worked closely with him and suddenly vanished from the spotlight. This carefully maintained facade was also a study in psychological manipulation and power dynamics. The vast financial disparity between Combs and many of his associates, particularly younger artists and dancers, created a state of absolute dependency. This power structure made it nearly impossible for victims or witnesses to step forward. They were dependent on the king for their livelihood, their connections, and their very existence within the industry. Any complaint could be dismissed as the bitterness of a failed employee or an attempt at blackmail, further reinforcing Combs's immunity. The stage was set for a massive collapse, but it would take a devastating, unavoidable legal action to finally penetrate the silence and bring the carefully constructed empire tumbling down. The facade of Sean Combs's untouchability, built over decades through legal maneuvers and aggressive public relations, began to crack spectacularly in November 2023. The critical turning point was not an anonymous tip or a police investigation, but the courageous decision of one individual, Cassie Ventura, the singer and Combs's former longtime partner. Ventura's filing of a civil lawsuit was a symbolic earthquake. The allegations were detailed and devastating. Rape, sexual abuse, years of physical violence and sexual trafficking, spanning from 2007 to 2018. These were no longer just industry rumors. This was a formal accusation aimed at the heart of his empire. Significantly, just one day after the documents were filed, the case was settled amicably for an undisclosed amount. To many observers, this swift settlement, while legally concluding the dispute, was viewed as a loud admission of liability, a calculated strategic attempt to minimize public damage before evidence could enter the public record. Regardless of the motive, the wall of silence surrounding Combs was definitively shattered. Cassie's bold move acted as a critical trigger. Over the subsequent months, a cascade of civil lawsuits crashed down upon Combs. Women and men who had previously been silenced by fear and non-disclosure agreements felt empowered to speak. In November 2023 alone, several additional lawsuits alleging sexual assault dating back to the 1990s were filed. The most detailed and public of these came in February 2024, when music producer Rodney "Lil Rod" Jones filed a lawsuit accusing Combs of sexual harassment, assault, and forcing him into sexual acts. Jones's lawsuit painted a chilling portrait of systematic abuse, detailing an environment where misconduct was normalized and expected. By October 2024, the number of civil complaints containing allegations of sexual assault and exploitation had reached over 70. The accusations included the sexual exploitation of minors, rape, and the drugging of victims to maintain submission. These multiple civil actions, though legally distinct from criminal prosecution, established an overwhelming pattern of conduct. They revealed that the alleged incidents were not isolated occurrences, but a systematic element of his operation, protected for years by the power structure of his entertainment empire. The civil breakthrough led to the inevitable criminal breakthrough. In March 2024, the world witnessed the event that forever changed Sean Combs's public standing. Agents from the United States Department of Homeland Security, DHS, executed synchronized armed raids on Combs's opulent residences in Los Angeles and Miami. The images from those raids instantly went global. Federal helicopters circling the luxury mansions, tactical agents entering the compounds, and Combs's sons being briefly detained in handcuffs. It was a spectacle usually reserved for drug cartel bosses, not for a hip-hop mogul. The facade had officially collapsed. This scene was a symbolic confirmation that the matter had escalated from the realm of gossip and civil disputes to a serious federal investigation involving human trafficking and racketeering. Agents confiscated computers, phones, and other digital devices, commencing the process of collecting critical digital evidence. In September 2024, the federal indictment was unsealed. Charges included conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation for the purpose of prostitution. Combs was arrested and, after being denied bond, was placed in federal detention. The final legal act came in July 2025. Although the jury acquitted Combs of the most high-profile charges, including conspiracy and sex trafficking, he was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation for the purpose of prostitution. This conviction, though partial, definitively ended his legal invincibility. In October 2025, Sean Combs was sentenced to 4 years and 2 months, 50 months, in federal prison. The fall of the bad boy king was no longer speculation, it was a legal fact. But simultaneously, as the justice system delivered its verdict, another, more chaotic and personal conflict was erupting in the shadow of the same case. A war for the narrative, about to be played out on the world's largest streaming platform, Netflix. While Sean Combs was confined and the legal system delivered its verdict, the ultimate battle for his legacy was being waged in the court of public opinion. This conflict centered around Sean Combs, The Reckoning, the highly anticipated documentary series released on Netflix in late 2025. The series was not a neutral retelling. It was executive produced by Combs's longtime rival, Curtis "50 Cent" Jackson, a figure who had publicly vowed to expose Combs's alleged misconduct for years. The documentary quickly became a global phenomenon, fueled by the sheer power of the Netflix platform and the intensity of the scandal. But the series was immediately embroiled in its own controversy. Combs's legal team launched an aggressive counterattack, filing a billion-dollar lawsuit against the producers and the streaming service. The central claim was that the documentary illegally used stolen, unauthorized private footage, including audio recordings of privileged conversations with his legal counsel. Combs argued that the series was a biased, manipulative work designed to further 50 Cent's personal vendetta, rather than a genuine pursuit of the truth. This legal warfare turned the documentary itself into a key exhibit. The media narrative shifted from merely discussing Combs's crimes to scrutinizing the ethics of true crime production, and the lengths rivals will go to secure the narrative. The controversy amplified the show's virality, forcing millions of viewers to question every piece of evidence presented and consider the motivations of every party involved. The case of Sean Combs became the ultimate modern story, a massive televised downfall where the line between journalism, entertainment, and personal vendetta was totally blurred. His conviction was a legal ending, but the narrative war continues to rage on social media and in the courts. Ultimately, the collapse of Sean Combs's empire serves as a terrifying case study in the abuse of celebrity power. It demonstrates that fame and wealth can build an almost impenetrable shield, but that shield is only as strong as the fear it instills. When the first person found the courage to speak, to file a lawsuit, that meticulously constructed facade crumbled, revealing the systemic darkness underneath. The story of Diddy is a powerful reminder that justice may be delayed, but the truth eventually finds a way to break through the silence. Thank you for watching this Black Tapes documentary. If you found this analysis compelling and appreciate our focus on the psychological and systemic aspects of true crime, please consider joining our community. If the truth matters to you, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. We'll see you in the next investigation.